5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
John, will you stop ringing me? I've told you there's no jobs going at Leicester Till I Die. Yeah, I know Top said he'll give you a good reference, but I just haven't got anything for... Oh, I've got to go. Good evening, everybody. How the devil are we? We're back after the international break. Somebody once said about 3 minutes ago, there's never a dull moment following Leicester City. And that is so true. And, of course, we have a small matter of Stoke coming up at the weekend. But the big story recently... And he's ringing me up here begging for a job. John Rudkins set for new Leicester role, and the club is to appoint a sporting director in senior reshuffle. And then we had Leicester City chairman Kuhntop pledges to rebuild connection with club's fans. Those are just two headlines from The Athletic. And if you don't subscribe to The Athletic, why don't you? I mean, it's the best. If you want to know what's going on at Leicester City, it is fantastic. Rob, who's my guest this evening, I'm not just saying that because he's coming on. He is a really, really, really good journalist. He was at the Mercury when that was a proper paper, not as he was, well, as we all say, clickbait home. But get over there, subscribe. It's really good value and it's proper journalism, I'll tell you. Do we believe Kuhntop? Do we? I mean, it's all very good to talk the talk, as they say, you've got to walk the walk. And we'll see whether, actually, he really, really does mean it. And I don't know, was it just me? But during that interview, which was held in what seemed to be a massive stairwell, I could only hear Father Christmas on the roof jingling his bells. Unless that was Susan Whelan jingling John Rudkins' bells, of course. Let's get going and let's talk Leicester. Rob, it's been a while. Welcome back to the channel. How the devil are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, I've had a little bit of a change of role at the Athletic, so I'm not quite all over Leicester City like I have done for the last 16 seasons. So, in fact, Norwich away was my first game to go and watch. But as I said to you earlier, Chris, there's always something going on at Leicester City, isn't there? I mean, even if I'm dragged away in another direction, there's something that always pulls me back to Leicester.
we are. I remember I did Talk Sport one morning, and it was a Sunday morning, and Barry Glendinning was the co-host. I think he's at the Guardian or the Telegraph, and he was joking with me at that point about Christian Fuchs, but he kept signing that 1 year extension, and he said, like, "Are you ever going to let him go?" And I said then, Leicester City is the Hotel California of the football world, because once you sign in, you just never leave. And I think that is very true, whatever the case is. Look, a lot to catch up on in the time that we've got. Can I very quickly start? And I have to be very careful here because I did get a very interesting email of somebody that said he listened to the show a lot. And when I went on to check all his details, they were all retracted. You know, when they put the black all over the details.
Yeah.
Just warning me that things I might say about Susan Whelan are a little bit, I have to be careful what I say, which made me laugh a lot because I was actually supporting her. But look, Susan went, and I think I, along with everybody else here, would have preferred John to have gone. I'd been told by, funnily enough, Dave Bartram, who, as you know, show Waddy Waddy, and he's there a lot. Yeah, I mean, he came on and did a. I could have just sat back and let him rant for an hour. He was not happy. I'd been told prior to that Top and John hadn't talked for. Oh no, sorry, Susan and John hadn't spoken for ages. But then it came out, according to Dave, that it was Top and Susan that hadn't spoken.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. None of what's transpired has come as a shock to me.
Into trouble here, by the way. I don't want you being sued.
No, don't worry. Yeah, nothing's really come as a surprise to me at all. What's been going on? I mean, there's been rumblings and talk amongst agents for quite some time about, you know, something's got to change at the club. I mean, this is how I've been on your show in the past when we've talked about the structure of the club. And how that was. I mean, Susan was incredibly loyal to Vichai, and Vichai loyal to Susan, and they worked really well together. He employed her at Leicester when he took over the club in 2010, made her the chief executive, and you know, everything worked so well for a long time. And so she was very much Vichai's appointment. Top and was obviously the vice chairman then, and he spent more time around the club, from what I understand, than Vichai, because Vichai had the whole empire to look after, the King Power project in Thailand to look after as well. So, and he formed quite a strong bond with John. John being the director of football, because Top was very interested in the football side of it, and Susan looked after the business side of it, you know, and they did really well for a number of years with the business side, and Vichai as well. And then obviously the tragedy of losing Vichai, Top and John quite close together. And it felt like the last year or so that Susan was pushed out a little bit. I mean, she did used to get involved in football matters. I remember, as we reported, when the Harry Maguire deal was done with Man United, it was through her own personal connection with Martin Edwards at Manchester United. That deal got done to that level, a record sale. And, you know, but I think over the last few years, I mean, that was 2019, wasn't it? So over the last number of years, she's really been focused more on the business side of the club. And I was hearing chat from some agents that were saying, we think Susan might be pushed out, or there might be some way that she's going to go. I mean, I think it was mutual consent in the end, but you know, it did feel like there was something going on behind the scenes that we probably will never get to the bottom of. But unless, you know, somebody comes out and talks about it. But I wish her all the best of luck. I think she did really well. I know some fans targeted her as well, but I think she did a great job, especially around the time when Vichai sadly passed away, and the dignity that she showed during her own personal grief. I can remember bumping into her on the stairs going up to the third floor where the press bench is, and she was, I don't know why she was there, but she was just coming down the stairs, and I just stopped her and I said, "Oh, by the way, just my condolences, and just think you've all done a magnificent job in honour his memory over the last week or so." And I could see her welling up, you know, really choking, and I think she did a great job for the club. I know there's the way things have happened over the last 3 or 4 years, you know, people will point the finger at everybody at the club, and rightly so. But I think the business side of the club has been okay over the last few years. It's been the football side that's really suffered.
I think we see, certainly, I can only talk sort of from myself, but from, you know, the rest of the fans that have been in the chats and what have you, is that when I looked, and I actually blamed Susan Whelan, and again, on information I was told, and I've got to say from a reliable source, that there was things that were sat on and not sent off maybe on time that should have been. But I look at the PSR troubles, and when I look at that, to me, that's business side as much as the football side, because it's finance. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah, right. In terms of PSR, the ultimate decision maker at the football club is always the chairman. He will sign off budgets, and he, that will be. I mean, Susan will advise, but the chairman will always make the final decisions on that. And at that time, as they said in their financial accounts, they didn't see that it was unreasonable to be ambitious and pay the wages and the contracts and do the transfer deals they did at that time, because they were targeting regular European football. And bear in mind, they had finished twice fifth. I mean, sliding doors, if they'd managed to get Champions League once out of those 2 years, the whole story could have been very, very different. Yeah. They had the big plans for the Raw Dykes Road development. All that would have been a huge boost to the club's revenue. That would have sustained more investment in the playing side of it. It is very much a collective. They are a board, but the ultimate decision maker is top. And but at the time they thought it was not a gamble; it was worth doing to keep investing in the playing side and have the 7th or the 8th highest budget in the Premier League, because that's where they were aiming for every season, 7 or 8. Look, keep going for European football, and then they just had a shocker, 22-23. Just absolutely nothing went right. There's a lot of mistakes made. That the spending then bit them on the bum big time, and all the problems since then, as Susan said in the financial results, this relegation will be felt for a number of years, and it's still being felt now, and it still will be felt for a number of transfer windows as well.
I mean, when I look at that, it's because I was actually I'm laughing because I've said this so many times, but I was in Lanzarote a couple of weeks ago, and I was watching a Leeds game, and there was a couple of Leeds fans there, and we're talking away quite nicely, surprise for a Leeds fan, but we were talking, and I was saying I very much saw Leicester almost like a mini Leeds in the way that they tried to fly close to the sun, and they went completely, and we didn't manage to go quite as bad as that yet. But if we hadn't gone and, if let's say after we won the Premier League, we'd gone and bought a non-league player for £1 million, the fans would have gone absolutely mental, wouldn't they? Yes, we went and spent 30 million on Slimani, and you can argue about whether he wasn't as good as we thought, or he wasn't played, we didn't play to his strengths, blah, blah, blah. But if we hadn't been buying the likes of £30 million players, the fans would have gone absolutely. They'd have torn the gates down, wouldn't they?
Well, this is the thing, Chris. If they were like knocking on the door of Champions League football, and then the club hadn't backed Rodgers in terms of the transfer window, and that they would have been accused of lacking ambition. And I've said it many times over the last few years. I think the biggest problem Leicester showed was over ambition to some extent. But PSR is also an issue, and that's not of their doing, because I think the way that the club is, they would have absorbed those losses with the backing of King Power. And although they went through obviously a torrid time with COVID, I mean, Top's still a billionaire, though obviously his wealth has fallen over recent years, but he's still a billionaire that wants to back the club, and there would have been money thrown in, but they can't spend it. It's not a case they haven't got it; they just can't spend it and come within the regulations. So. And obviously, there's going to be more pain on that front to come. I'm pretty sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can correct me here. My understanding is that we may well hear, certainly this side of Christmas, because for that, I just think that's when Everton and Forest heard. The latest I'm hearing is the fact that it's 9 points.
Possibly. I mean, 12 points is for administration, so you would think it wouldn't be as bad as that, because that is the ultimate. I mean, obviously, Sheffield Wednesday are feeling that. That's the biggest sanction you get for dropping into administration. The club are not dropped in administration, but there's a lot of aggravating factors with Leicester's case, unlike Everton's and Forest's in the past, because they've fought. They've not complied. They've got accounts in, but after the deadline, so They've upset a few people as well.
I'm going to say we've upset a few people down the years.
It's fair to say they've upset a few people, Chris.
Yes,
And I think some people want to make an example of Leicester to try and deter other clubs. I mean, they've had to rewrite their own regulations, the wordings of their own regulations on the back of the problems that Leicester have caused them in the courtroom. So, I don't think there's going to be any leniency, put it that way, towards Leicester. So we'll wait and see whether it's 9, 10, whatever. That's why I think when we went to Norwich a couple of weeks ago, it felt such like a momentous game, because if you're within 9 points of the relegation zone, and they hit you with that sanction, possibly. I mean, we're guessing. Let's stress we are guessing, but we're trying to do it within an intelligent guess.
Yeah.
Then you're really fighting back to the wall then again for survival in the Championship, which is would be unprecedented.
Well, we always say, and I always say, like when we got promoted last time, I said, just get me to 17th. I'll be happy with 17th. This season, I'm looking at it and thinking, look, let's just finish 20th. Let's stay up. Let's not go down, and let's just take it and get it out the way, for God's sake. Every season we're starting with this.
Yeah, I think this is it, Chris. I think the club needs that reset moment. Now, we're going to obviously talk about the changes that are taking place behind the scenes, and it feels like they're going to try and reset the club in some way. And certainly from what Top's comments were about resetting the club. I mean, this should have happened a couple of years ago, but it feels like, they've got to get rid of the players that are on high money, who are coming to end of their contracts. They're going to have to bite the bullet with some of them, and accept they're just going to have to let them go, because you've got to reset, get back to level playing field in terms of your finances and PSR, and build again. And I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, this season might be one of those where you just consolidate and then slowly build again. But because I think in the next couple of, I don't think there'll be any money to spend in January. And, I think next summer might be difficult as well. We'll see, because they've obviously let go £50 million worth of talent, and the likes of Jamie Vardy, one of the highest earners, has left the club as well. So that has helped the finances, and they didn't spend a penny. They're all loans that have come in, and free transfers. So,
of course, talking of high spenders, of course, we also got rid of Connor Cody. Though I have to say, the Swansea fan that I know absolutely hates him. But hey, we tried to. He said he's always on the bloody radio and doing podcasts. I said, that's what we said.
That's what he's going to do when he's finished. He's a very good talker as well. So good luck to him with the media stuff. Yeah.
But very quickly before we move on, last thing on Susan, because as soon as Susan left, and like I say, it was by mutual consent apparently, when she left, suddenly we got a sponsor on the shirts.
Yeah, the BC game thing has been quite interesting. And again, I've not been all over Leicester at the start of this season. My understanding was it was a 2-year contract, quite a substantial amount as well that they played. And now this is the things. I mean, that obviously their Bitcoin, their cryptocurrency sort of gambling site that isn't active or licensed in this country. So you straight away you've got an issue there in terms of ethics of the football club, and do they want to be associated with that? But at the time, with the situation they found themselves in, that was revenue they probably felt they couldn't turn down. When they got relegated, I was led to believe there was some sort of clause in there, a cut-off clause, because it's the Premier League they're interested in. I mean, they're as I said, they don't operate in this country, they operate around the world. The Premier League is a global league. Championship's not a global league. I mean, a lot of people watching it, but it's not a global league. So I think there was an issue there that's been ironed out. But as soon as that's done as well, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Let's get back Walkers on the shirt again. Power.
Mind you, then you see, I think this is the last season we were allowed to have gambling adverts on the shirt.
It is. You can't carry on after this season. You're right. You can't carry on.
And Monga without anything on the front of his shirt, and Louis Page makes me smile.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, the under-17s got knocked out of the World Cup today. Got beat 4-0.
I'd heard we were struggling, yes.
So those
get them back.
Well, now they'll be back sooner than we thought or hoped.
Well, it is. To be honest with you, don't start me on England. That's another show on its own. But I forgot what I was going to say then. What was I going to say?
BC Game. Shirt sponsors.
BC Game sponsors. Nope. Whatever it wasn't that important because it's gone out of my mind. Oh, yes, that's what it was. Thank you. Ben's just said bring back Top Styles.
Cool.
I mean, if you have Walker's crisps on, you're going to get everybody up in arms about obesity. You know,
I know. There's no. Yeah, it's very difficult, isn't it, to find a shirt sponsor that everybody likes these days, isn't it?
Exactly. But look, let's get through to this, and I've got to say, what a stairwell that was in that building in in Thailand.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just all I could hear was these jingle bells every now and again going off. I don't know how that was the monks walking round, but
it was a King Power facility that was, and yeah, it was one of the great halls where they have exhibitions and stuff like that, and they just did it on an upper area that was a little bit quieter. Although it didn't come across as that quiet at the time, did it? But they had to do it over in Thailand because of the death of the Queen Mother. Top's gone back to show his respects because obviously when there's they are King Power, they're closely linked to the royal family in Thailand, so he had to show his respects during the mourning period.
Oh, totally. I get that. I was just waiting for somebody to fall over themselves walking up or going up the escalator and going arse over tit. But look, like you say, the thing is, we're not owned by King Power anymore, are we? We're owned by Top and the family. Yeah. So, I mean, and look, it's been bad. I mean, I heard a lot of what he was saying, and I did like the fact he did actually kind of, to me, make the point that, look, guys, we were hit really badly by COVID. You're not going to get, oil companies that have been hit by COVID the way we were. And it was like a little reminder of that. But as you said here, it was 10 years since his last interview. Do you think we are going to see a new... Because everybody's been shouting for it. And it was a bit odd, I thought, at the timing, because we'd had the disgusting chants at Norwich, and there were disgusting chants. They're not fans, and we don't condone that in any way. Yes, moan, complain, hold banners up, but they were just disgusting chants. And then literally within a few days of that, this all comes out. Do you think, and you've always said, the Thai people are very private, keep themselves to themselves. So are we going to see Top coming out more and talking, or anybody at the club coming out and talking, do you think?
I think so. I think that there will be a change of narrative around the football club. I think there have been some people in the club that have been advising for some sort of public statements for a while. I mean, really, after 22-20 for the relegation there, I think some sort of acknowledgement of what had gone wrong, because it was so shocking and surprising that they went from 8th to 18th, in one season. I think some acknowledgement would have been, on a PR level, would have been really good to try and... There's so many disappointed fans, upset fans, they want answers. Try and provide some answers. It's okay, brilliant having like the fan groups that they sit down and talk to every now and then, but that's not to the broader community that support Leicester City, And I'm not just saying this is the Athletic or the media themselves, but if you can get around as many as you can, and try and control the narrative as well. To be honest, because when you create a void, other people will fill that void. And you won't have any influence on what they're saying, so you'll get other parties that will comment on that, and it won't exactly be positive. So I think that they did make mistakes. I think I don't know if Top really understands British media, because obviously he doesn't come from that culture. And it's not just British media; it's European media, it's American media. That we do try and ask questions and probe, and they might in Thailand show they might think that disrespectful, but over here, we try and provide answers for people.
Yeah, but is it not? Because when they first bought us, it was very much Top who was the face of it. Vichai, yes, he was the businessman, but Vichai, I don't think his grasp of English was as good as Top's. And it was Top that was sort of doing the interviews and speaking to people. But then it just suddenly, even before COVID, it just stopped. And you've got to think as well, 10 years ago, social media wasn't what it is now. Channels like this didn't exist, and
Yeah.
whether you like it or not, and I do watch alongs at the weekend, and I know that if we lose a game, my views will be higher than if we win a game. Because
Oh yeah, that's true, Chris. That's
yeah,
true in the media as well. Mercury,
yeah,
if there was a crisis at Leicester, there was always newspaper sales, except for the title winning season, the newspaper sales would
yeah,
grow up. There's more interest in what's
yeah.
going wrong. And we see it with all the other clubs as well. It's not just a Leicester
No,
thing.
no, it's not. No. I mean,
Yeah.
AFTV is the one that obviously springs to mind about them preferring it if the Arsenal lose. But yeah, it has changed. And the club that I grew up supporting, which was a family club, was carried on by, because we had owners that everybody wanted. They came in, they thought, do we change the name? Because at one point, I think they were considering going back to Leicester Foss. And as far as I remember, they actually asked the fans, do you want this? So they weren't coming in and changing our shirts to red like Cardiff. They were part of it. They were part of the community. The free beers, and we all remember we're getting our hands stamped, having the beer, rubbing it off our hands in the toilets, going down and getting another one, and breakfast if we're setting off early for an away trip. But it's just gone, hasn't it? That's not Leicester anymore.
No, there's been a disconnect between the club and the fans, and that's been quite apparent. You hear it in the stands. You see it on social media, on the message boards, on the forums, on shows like yours. That people feel like the club's turned their back a little bit on them, has ignored them, and they want answers as well, and they're not getting any. So, and I think it had to come to a head. I think everything the top was going to do was not influenced by what happened in Norwich. I think it was all planned. I mean, it's not knee jerk, and nothing Leicester City do is really that knee jerk,
No,
because it takes quite a long time for anything to.
It was
be
recorded
decided,
before,
but
wasn't it? As well, I believe.
it was. So, and the situation with John again. There's been chat around the agent circles for a while about a change at boardroom level. I mean, I've been on your show in the past, and I've sort of said to you, they need help. Perhaps John might become an advisor to Top, and then they bring in a sporting director, and that's exactly what they're going to do, I think. So this isn't like something that's just happened overnight. This is something that's been in the works for a while. I mean, some of the abuse that John's been getting has been quite savage, and it really crossed the line. I thought it was a small section at Norwich. I didn't hear that. I was on the other side of the ground on the press bench. I didn't hear that, but I did hear the banter between the Norwich fans and the Leicester fans about sack the board, and they were both applauding each other each time one of them started singing it. The other ones were going, "Yeah, we want to sack ours and all." There was a bit of camaraderie between the two sets of fans, which you don't normally get. And so, interestingly, I'm going to watch Norwich again this weekend at Birmingham because there's quite a lot going on down there as well. So. Yeah, I think
the thing that I feel a little bit nervous about, and look, I know Top's a billionaire, but that money is limited as to a company owning us, because the company's usually got a lot more finance to play around with and marketing budgets, etc., etc. Now that we're totally owned by Top and his family, do you think there's a risk that money will dry up? And like I say, let's be honest with you, £1 billion, how do you spend that? But it is actually quite easy in football, isn't it?
No, as I said, I think there is money available. They just can't spend it because of the regulations. But having said that, I know that he's entertained a few people from Thailand. I think the club will always be like Thai owned in some way, I think, because it's a massive source of pride to people in Thailand, certainly the powers that be, about having Leicester City and everything they've achieved in over the last decade. So I think what there might be is if some help. So if you hear in coming time that there might be another investor involved with the family. But don't ever underestimate how deeply rooted that family is now because of what happened to Vichai outside that ground. You know, it meant everything to him. He's got the statue there, the memorial garden. You know, that is really ingrained in them. So I don't think it's something they would throw away and just move on from, because I don't think they can emotionally. I think they're attached to the football club now. But I think what they are realistic is if they could get another investor in, that would help them in that sense. They wouldn't lose control, but just somebody to come in and be a part of it. I wouldn't rule that out. I really wouldn't rule that out.
There you go, Prashant. Before you've even finished typing, Rob's answered your question. That was timing. But I mean, so you can't see them ever actually selling the club.
Never say never in football.
No.
As things stand, from what I understand, no. And I think these moves by Top reinforce the fact that his commitment to the club in terms of, right, okay, I understand I've got to do something here now. I've got to restructure the club. We've got to get some more people in, fresh ideas, fresh approach. We've got to reset and go again, and I'm fully committed. And that's exactly what he said. So I think that is absolutely correct, because he doesn't speak very often. So when he does, I do actually believe him. I don't think he's peddling anything.
I don't think he's got anything to gain, has he?
No,
by that, And look, we look at Glaziers, we look at the Crongies at Arsenal, and we know what they come out and they wield the same shite, to be honest with you. And it was I felt he was very humble. He actually sat there and said, "I have got things wrong."
Yeah, that's exactly what fans want to hear, isn't it, Chris? That's what you want to hear.
Yeah,
you wanted to hear it in 2023.
This is I go back to then is when we didn't hear anything until the programme on the night of the Man United game, which was the day the window shut. And if he'd come out and said that or something earlier, we'd have all gone, okay, we understand. So has Top completely tied his links with King Power? I know he stood down, didn't he? I know Top stood down as CEO of King Power.
Yeah, but he still very much owns that company. But again, this is him having help, getting help in. He can't do it all himself. I mean, you think when Vichai died, and he was in his 30s, suddenly he had to step up, look after the family business, and look after Leicester City. And that was a lot for a guy that wasn't that experienced. I mean, Vichai was self-made in many ways. He built himself, built his empire, built his family, and it was over a period of time. Suddenly, Top's thrown in, and he's the youngest of the 4 siblings. So suddenly, it's like he needed help. So he's got help in that King Power. I think he's going to get help in at Leicester as well.
I thought he was the eldest.
No, he's the youngest. Apichet I think he's the older brother. But he was the one that was pulled under the wing of Vichai from a very early age, really. Obviously, his passion for football as well. Famously, they went to that League Cup final, Leicester Middlesbrough. That was the first game we watched in England. I think his dad was with him. So, I think it's a lot to bear on his shoulders. There has been for a number of years now. So.
No, I don't stalk them and sort of know everything about them and all the dates of birth and everything. I just presumed with him, running everything, that he was therefore the eldest.
Logically you would think that, wouldn't you? I saw them all because we had the hearing about the helicopter crash in Leicester during last season. So they were all there towards the end of that. So we did see them, but he did clearly come across as the leader of the family. So he stepped into his father's shoes. That's a big weight for any young man to have to bear.
Totally. But I always say, because I have anxiety and what have you, and I tend to bite people's head off a lot. Half my life is shouting at people, and the other half is going around and apologising for what I'm shouting about. And I think the fact that he won me over, and I think he won a lot of people over. When we showed afterwards, we did a show about it, and we showed the interview, and there were so many people saying, yeah, look, he's admitted he's got it wrong. And if you do that, and he's admitted he needs help and he's bringing people in, and then people are prepared to say, well done. Yes, let's get behind you. Because we're all sat here moaning and screaming. None of us could do that bloody job. Oh, we'd like to think.
Yeah, I think what fans were hoping for, and I think what Top has shown now, is a bit of humility.
Yes,
you were the champions of England, and won the FA Cup and played in Europe, and then you've messed it up massively. Be humble about it and own it, and say, God, yeah, but we will learn and bounce back. But they didn't. They just sort of just quietly tried to get on with it, and they were digging a bigger hole. They were sinking even further. Even during the promotion season back, when they got Enzo in, that was a great move, bringing Enzo in. And I think we're going to talk about managers, aren't we, in a bit? So we can compare him to some of the other appointments they've made. But even then, that all was not well because of the PSR situation. So they've made a lot of mistakes. Hopefully he's learned from them, and once the reset comes and they can get back to level playing field, then they can push on again and rebuild.
That's how I saw this season going. Like I say, going back up isn't important to me. Stabilising the club and drawing that line and resetting it is the thing. Interestingly, and I'm going to butcher this name, and I do apologise. Kuhn Kamathip, the lady. She's going to be the take over Susan Whelan, isn't she? But
she's interim. She's an interim managing director. So the CEO, the interim CEO, is still Top.
Okay.
So he stepped in as cover for Susan. He's going to be more hands on the club at this time. Yeah. Hence, the appointment as well at King Power to give him that freedom. But also she's come in and to help as a managing director for now. And they will be appointing a new CEO at some stage, but that'll probably take a bit of time to find the right person. Similarly, with a technical director, football, again, that might be somebody that's already in a job, and they might have to negotiate severance, and they just want to get the right person. I think it's not a rush this season. As long as they can hold their heads above water, there's no rush. Get the right person in and start to build again. So this person will come in and work very closely with Martin Glover, with John Rudkins as well, and they'll probably bring in a few others as well that will try and rebuild that structure, because they were so light in senior management at the club, really light for a club that aspires to be, a top Premier League club.
Yes, yeah, and I think as well, I suppose if it's a public limited company, do they have, are they on the stock exchange in Thailand?
I believe so.
Yeah,
no, I'm not sure actually. No, I don't think they are.
If they are, I suppose you've got to be careful what you say, because you say a wrong word or put to get things wrong.
They own the club, so there's no other shareholders that I'm aware of.
Oh no! I was just thinking, because again, if he'd come out and said, right, this is the guy I'm appointing at King Power. He used to work for Thailand Airport, so he's got the knowledge, blah blah blah, and that will free me up to spend a bit more time with Leicester. All the fans would have gone, oh yeah, great, nice one. All we heard was that he was standing down as CEO. This other guy was taking over, and oh shit, what's going on? It's all that.
Again, this is communication, Chris, because some of the stuff that was going on in Thailand is not unusual. How they work in terms of their contracts for the airports is they put in a bidding process, a tender, where they say, look, we will pay you this for the monopoly rights to run these airport duty-frees, whatever, right? And that's based on projected earnings. So they might pay a percentage or, whatever they negotiate.
Yeah.
Then COVID comes along and the bottom falls out of it, and you're paying, instead of paying a percentage of very little, they still want their certain figure. So another agreement will kick in where they've got to pay so much money, full stop. And then they turn around and say, well, we can't do that because our projected earnings means that we can't afford that now. So let's renegotiate. Let's be sensible. Renegotiate that, because nobody that had the tender would, they'd all be in the same boat because of COVID. So that's what happened, and they basically renegotiated their terms. So it's a bit like having a loan with the bank, and you agree to pay so much a month, and then things go wrong, and you can't keep up those payments, and you say, look, instead of throwing everything out and you writing off all that money, let's restructure that debt.
Yeah.
So I'll pay you a little bit less, but over a longer period, and then you'll probably earn a little bit more in the interest as well. And that's and as a businessman, you go, well, that probably makes sense instead of like writing off. Having a go at you and writing off this loan, we'll restructure it and we still get our money back.
Yeah, you are taking me back to my nationwide building society days when I worked in the debt department, not wanting to write.
So
not wanting to write people's mortgages off because then you get nothing. That was always the very last option, and we had about 20 before we got to that one. Right, let's move on to a certain director of football. We've said before, maybe he should be moved up for his own sake, really, because, he can't go to football matches and feel safe. It must be horrible being sat there knowing that and they might be waiting outside. And some, no disrespect, every club's got them, but there's some nutters that, go to the football. So for his sake, and we do tend to forget that he was there when the good times were on as well. And I think, again, if you remember me saying, it was always a case, and I love that piece you did about John Rudkin and what his actual responsibilities were. And I wish more people had read that, because
that was just a backgrounder to try and explain who he was and how he'd risen to the position he was. It wasn't. I mean, obviously, towards the end of the article, I did point out about the fans, how they felt about certain decisions and the responsibility that was coming on. But that wasn't an article, and we're going to talk about. I don't know. Perhaps in the future we will talk about journalism and what you do in certain articles. But that was just an explainer, certainly for like an American audience, of who this guy was, because obviously we're going by the New York Times. Who he is, how has he come from just being a part-time coach in the academy to rise into the most powerful footballing position at the football club, and why suddenly fans are targeting him now. So that was that piece, and talking to people that knew him as he grew through the club. But obviously since then there's a lot of criticism that's come his way, and you're right, in terms of the pressure that's on him on a match day, but also beyond that, 24/7. Can you imagine if he goes to the supermarket, goes for a meal in a restaurant, and there's Leicester fan in there? It makes it very, very difficult for him and his family as well. And I imagine very distressing. Now, whether you have opinions on what he's like as a professional, that's up to for you guys to make your own minds up. But he's still a human being at the end of the day. So some of those chants at Norwich were really distasteful.
Yeah, and I got to say, I mean, two managers that I met when my sons were ball boys. One was Craig Levine, and one was Ian Holloway. Neither of which were two people we put at the top of their favourite manager list, but two people that, when you met them, were totally lovely and really nice to my son, and that's all that bothered me.
Ian is such a character. And obviously he will always be associated with one of the biggest failures in the club's history. But I had some dealings with him recently. Can you remember when he went into Swindon and they had a ghost down the train?
Yeah. Oh.
Well, they train at a public leisure centre, which they shut down for a few hours a day. Nobody else can go in.
Yeah.
And he was saying that, about windows being broken internally and there was nobody there, and about this ghost, and he had his wife in to try and exorcise these demons. And I had some dealings with him then. And he is brilliant. I mean, I thought it was just a great way of deflecting pressure on his players because they were struggling at the time, and he certainly turned it around there and done a great job. But he has got a lot of charisma.
He has, and I think it was possibly the right manager just at the wrong time. I don't think Pep Guardiola could have saved us that season. It was on the cards for a long time that we were going down. But we're going to hopefully get this technical director in to help John. Which I suppose is like a football director just in another name. A lot of people are asking for an ex-manager to come in. One of them...
Guess which one?
Yes, yeah. Well, the one that doesn't get quite as many votes and comes in a very long way second is a certain Martin O'Neill, who obviously is he still at Celtic? I've been away. I don't know what's happening. Yes. And he has expressed a wish to maybe carry on there. The other one, and yeah, you know who it is, big Nige. But do we need somebody that's had that experience? There you go, look. Ben's come up straight away, one Nigel Pearson. And if Tom... I know Tom's working. He's got a job in a pub at night, but lucky devil. But he just wants Nigel. Nobody else is even in running for him. But do you think Nigel could do a job like that, or do you think we really need somebody like, is it Andrew Neville that went from Newcastle to Man United and then didn't stay there long?
You mean Dan Ashworth?
Dan Ashworth, sorry, that's it. Yeah,
Andrew Neville at the club. Yeah, Dan Ashworth's got vast experience. If you want to shake the club up, then Nigel Pearson's certainly a guy that could come in and demand standards from people around him. I mean, he did that so effectively so many times. I mean, obviously, he's had his health issues in the past. I think he's on the road to recovery now, certainly doing a lot better from what I'm told. It's whether he'd want to do that and whether he'd want to work with John Rudkin and Top again. I mean, bear in mind, he has parted the club.
He's had a couple of jobs with King Power, hasn't he, over the years?
Yeah, he's been sacked at Leuven and well. But it depends on whether I mean, I don't know. I haven't spoken to him for a while now, but it depends what he would want to do, whether he wants now just to sort of enjoy himself a little bit after his health scares and just spend time with his family. But I certainly think his character would be brilliant to come in, and ruffle some feathers, because I think that's what really needed. Some feathers to be ruffled, people to be pulled up by the bootstraps. Because I just get the impression sometimes that the club floats along a little bit, and there isn't anybody holding anybody to account. And let's talk about some of it, because I know I've got to go in 6 minutes. Let's talk about some of the managers.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you had a chat, you said with Marti.
I went and met Marti on the training ground.
Yeah, a bit left field, because nobody had even considered him. It was all Danny Roll or Sean Dyche or Chris Wilder, and then we missed the bullet with Russell Martin. Thank God, we missed the bullet with Harry Potter. Graham Potter. We missed, and then it all looked like Danny Roll, and that was such a mess, I think, at the time, that it's like, and then this guy comes in on his white stallion.
Yeah. To be honest, Chris, I don't believe any of those names you mentioned, because from the very outset, I was told because of PSR, they needed somebody who was available, somebody that didn't have to cost them compensation, somebody that was keen and hungry and wouldn't demand a huge wage, because of the PSR situation. So Danny Roll was out because of the compensation you have to pay. Sean Dyche is going to be expensive. Russell Martin wasn't. That was never a starter. Russell Martin was a name that I believe was put out to try and help his leverage getting the Rangers job. So if you're saying, if you want to throw your hat into the ring for a certain job, and you say, look, I've got all these other clubs, they're asking me as well, you better get a wriggle on and tell me what you want to do. It helps your cause. I don't think he was ever properly in the frame. So, and certainly I was at Bournemouth the last game of the season, and if they were seriously considering making an approach for him, which I don't think they were, the fans let them know what they thought of that. So when you're trying to win fans back, that's probably not the appointment to make. So when it was somebody like Marti Cifuentes coming in, he fitted the bill in terms of all of those criteria that I mentioned. He's a good coach. He's got a reputation for being a good coach. But to be a good manager, you've got to have more. He's come in, and I know that one of the pre-season games when they're away in the camp, because he obviously came in sort of late because they dragged the feet. The Ruud van Nistelrooy thing. I mean, they had to leave it as late as possible because they had to announce it before pre-season training, because it would look terrible if they start pre-season training. He's your manager and he's not there, so they said, look, he's gone, but that'll be in the next account. So I'm not worried that's going to impact them PSR and have two managerial changes in one season. I don't think they want another one now, so Marti's going to be given a lot of leeway. So I don't think there'll be, because obviously now he'd be in the same financial year as Ruud. But he's coming in, and he did tear a strip off him at half time in one of the games, because he felt the attitude in that game, the effort was unacceptable. And when I heard that, I thought, great, this is exactly what they need. Somebody to get into them a little bit, wake up a few. I mean, the youngsters are not a problem. Some of the senior pros that have got their heads down because they've been involved in 2 relegations in 3 years, and you've got to pick them up and get them going and motivate them. And then this is going back to Nigel, because that's exactly what Nigel Pearson did twice at the club. He went into a dressing room. The first time it was one that had just been relegated to League One, was down on its luck, and everybody's feeling sorry for themselves, and he picked them up by the bootstraps. And then second time was when Sven spent a fortune, and he had a dressing room full of millionaires, and he used to say, big name players, just big wages. That's what he's saying. They're just on big wages. So he sorted that mess out again, second time round. Now I want to see this from Marti now, because I did sit down with him. I listened to his philosophy and his passion for football and English football and what he wants to achieve. And I thought this guy could be the man to do that. I mean, he's a bit like Enzo, but Enzo was stronger in terms of the players had direction from him. They were left in no doubt what he expected from them. Marti's a little bit nicer, if in that sense. I'm not saying Enzo's not a nice guy. He is, but he's firm. He used to throw the electric pointers when they were doing the analysis in the room. He broke them countless times, throwing them about, because he and you saw him on the touchline. He was very passionate, and that filtered. And the players wanted leadership. These players now want leadership. So it's all right getting around them and being friendly with them and getting to know them, which is great management. If you look at the top managers, they've always got players on board with them because they treat them like their sons in some respect. Fergie, I mean, Beckham and Ronaldo, the way they talk about Fergie and Pep now, the Man City players will talk about Pep in a similar way. Marti he's a very nice guy, and he'll get to know them and he'll look after them and all this but he's also got to be firm at times as well, and he's got to demand more from some of these players, because there's a lot of talent in that dressing room still, for all the PSR problems. But at the moment, for the ones that are standing up for me, the ones that are not been tainted by the relegation so far, Jordan James coming in, great. I knew he was going to be great. I knew he was going to be great for the club. I saw him at Birmingham.
And he's doing well for Wales, bless him as well. Very, very quickly, because you've got to go, so I'm going to make this my last question.
It's all right, mate.
You said about Marti's got to stand up. Is it true that he stood up to John Rudkin in the tunnel after a game and they were arguing?
I've not heard that one. Well, I don't know if that's actually true, and I'd be surprised if it was, because John normally is in the boardroom. So, right. I have seen him floating around tunnels in the past, certainly at Brighton. I've seen him around there, Liverpool. I've seen him in those areas. So he does go around the changing room after games at some point, but not straight after. But look, Marti's very accepting of the situation that he's found himself in, which is he knew that he didn't have any money to spend. So what's the point in demanding money? What's the point then going into the media and saying this team needs a refresh and we've got to do it? Some of these players have spent too long at this club. We've got to, like Brendan did. And Brendan knew the situation when he said that. So he was poking the fire there. Whereas Marti sort of come, okay, we've sort of, I know the situation. I've got to make the best of what we've got here, and that's what I'm going to try and do. So good luck to him. I hope he succeeds. But I want to see him be a little bit firmer. Yeah.
And we all, I love that, what the majority shareholder at Celtic put out against about thing. I'm going down that list, and I'm going, right, Brendan, let's have a look. I'm going, doesn't get on with the player. Yeah, that's Leicester. I was just ticking it off, going, that's what we said, So,
Leicester never said anything publicly.
No. I'm saying, sorry, as fans, what we were thinking.
I was hearing similar things to when that Celtic director came out and said that publicly. I went, bloody hell, that sounds familiar. What some people were saying to me internally about self-preservation and things like that. But there you go.
Anyway, look, it's 8 o'clock. Thank you so very much. Lovely to have you back, Rob. We discussed that other show at the start, so we'll try and get that sorted. And everybody, if you're not subscribed to The Athletic, why not? That is the question. It is one of the best reads. And Rob, he still pops up. We're going to see you because Leicester's Leicester.
Yeah,
You'll be right.
I will be back down. I mean, I'm not doing. I used to do 3 articles on Leicester a week, but I don't think they'll be until they get back in the Premier League. That's it.
Yeah,
Get them back in the Premier League, and then perhaps I'll be able to come down more often.
I'm sure we'll see you as well. Read about the PSR. I've no doubt. All the best to you and your family, absolutely. Rob. Take care. Cheers. Thank you very, very much. All the best. Bye-bye. Oops. Excuse me. Don't go. I'm here. I just pressed my wrong knob. And if you press your wrong knob, isn't it great? Excuse me. Isn't it great to have Rob back? Look, Rob gives up he doesn't get paid for that. He gives his time up. And I can't say enough. And everybody that moans about the Sun and everybody that moans about Sky and, excuse me, you can't believe that it's in the Sun and all that. Sign up for the Athletic. Always got good, and not just on Leicester, on a lot of sports and world football as well. They are an American company. But thanks very much to Rob. Look, we're going to be back tomorrow at 7:00. We're going to be doing the prediction show. It's a little bit earlier. Don't usually do it on a Wednesday, but I am seeing my granddaughter on Thursday. So, and then we've got the preview of the Stoke game on Thursday. We'll have the press conference review and possibly, if Dan, who's in the chat, is free Friday night, we'll be doing our late football show. Don't be blue. I'm always blue, mate. I'm always blue. I'm blue blood, me. Yep. Me and Camilla. Blue blood. Guys, thank you very much. Do what it says at the bottom. Subscribe, like, share, click the notification bell. Do all that shit. I'm trying to get to 5,000 before the end of the season. I've got about 500 to go. Please do that if you haven't already. Thanks to everybody that was in. Jack popped in at the end. Certainly it was a lot of wasted money. You're quite right. And I'm going to go off now and talk football with a Stoke fan. I will see you soon. Thanks very much to everybody in the chat and, of course, to Rob as well. And be sure to go and check out The Athletic. Take care. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you there tomorrow.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.